This is a film study focused on Seahawks rookie wide receiver Tory Horton, who had 2 touchdowns in Seattle's 38-14 win over the Commanders on Sunday Night Football. Through 8 games of his rookie campaign, Tory Horton's being utilized in a multitude of ways by Clint Kubiak, and it's all working. He's got 5 receiving touchdowns, 1 punt return in the Week 3 win over the Saints. We're going to go over some of the big plays and the ways that he's being deployed with or without Cooper Kupp on the field so far. We'll go through some of the big plays that he's had in his rookie season. I'm not consistent throughout this video in terms of how he's spot shadowed, but in this particular play, his first touchdown of his career against the Steelers, he's spot shadowed in blue at the top side of the screen. Over Yankee concept, whatever people want to call it, essentially deep crossers, one guy going underneath JSN, and the idea here is off play action. You're forcing the Steelers free safety from a one high safety look to deal with one of these 2 crossers, and then Sam Darnold, if given time, like he has been so far in 2025. Sunday night against the Commanders was ridiculous how much time he had to throw, but if given time here, he'll make the right decision, whether it's JSN going across, or in this case, Horton, who had beat Jalen Ramsey all the way across the field. The next week against the New Orleans Saints, of course, we all knew that was really a mismatch coming into the game. This one puts Seattle up 14-0 in the second quarter. Really, it's the first return of the game for Seattle. There's no real scheme here, to be honest with you. I broke this one down after it occurred. Basically, it looks like Seattle is trying to go block the thing, and essentially they're just showing the Saints a particular look. They're going to drop out 2 guys, Chaz Surratt, and I think it's Jarek Hall. I may have his name wrong for the 3rd time, but you also have the dynamic of checking fake here, number 1, and then peeling back to block. There is a loss at the top side with the gunner here. Typically on a punt return or a kick return, at some point your returner, is going to have to make someone miss, and in fact, in this case, it's the gunner from the top side of our screen. You got key blocks by multiple guys here, Jake Bobo being one of them, but in any case, you got a 70-yard punt from the time from contact, I should say, not from 70 from the line of scrimmage, actually 60 from the line of scrimmage, but 70 yards from contact of the foot to catch by Horton. I think it's Surratt tries to pick up a player and then misses him. Reed has the first real key block here on Horton's eventual path right in the middle of the screen. Horton has made the first gunner miss, and then 3 players collided with each other that kind of cleared his path, made things a little bit easier for him to bring this up the middle of the field or up between the hash and the left sideline. And Bobo, I think, is a critical thing to mention here, basically avoiding a penalty in what could be called, in this day and age, a peel-back block. A nice job, if you ask me, to at least avoid a penalty, not go overboard, recognize that Horton at this point has a great opportunity for a big return, burst through, and you've got this level of physicality that Seattle brings to pretty much every situation in 2025, whether it's offense, defense, or special teams. They're always laying shots on people, in particular the defense against Washington on Sunday night. Absolutely overwhelmed them with aggressiveness, tenacity, and just, plain old execution from a responsibility standpoint. I talked about this the first time I broke this down. Forgive me that there's so many graphics on screen. It should be pretty obvious why I have to do that. In any case, he's out of gas here. It really didn't matter. No one was going to catch up to him at this point. Like I said, put Seattle up 14-0 in the second quarter. Really, the route was on at that point. I think in training camp, or maybe leading up to week 1, it was Nick Emanwari who said that Tory Horton was going to be the steal of the NFL draft, and he sure looks right at this point. Has 5 touchdowns, offensively been a huge threat in the red zone. This is the same game, the blowout win over the Saints. They're up 21-3 at this point. I think this one puts them up 28-3. So in the red zone, the high red zone, in fact, outside release fade, another example, an early example from earlier in the season of just consistent pass pro by the offensive line that gives Darnold this very clearly delineated pocket to throw from. And Horton's not even open yet. He's not even one at this point yet to the outside, but Darnold trusts him so much. Those guys have obviously worked together a lot in training camp. Well, up to this point, week 9, it's pretty clear that Darnold trusts him or trusted him at that point. Those guys were not wrong. Nick Emanwari Sam Darnold, etc., talking about Tory Horton's ability to make plays, not just down the field. I think we all thought that he would be a home run threat, a down the field deep ball guy. That's not been the case. Perhaps his biggest impact, or point of impact, I should say, is in the red zone. And you got multiple examples of it. None better than this one in the home loss, the unfortunate home loss to the Tampa Bay Bucks, 38-35. Horton is up at the top side of the screen. This is a design play, in my opinion. A defensive end, I think it's Diaby, from the left-hand side of the offensive line, the bottom side of our screen, is going to really interrupt Sam Darnold's flow or his ability to get this throw off cleanly or quickly. Downside corner, I think it's Zion McCollum, has chased JSN in too far. Were it not for the pressure coming from this defensive end, Darnold, is probably going to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker than we actually see it occur on this route designed to go all the way across the field, conceptually similar to his first touchdown against the Steelers, even though it's not the exact same concept. You can see Darnold avoids that defensive end, Diaby, and a second Bucs defender trying to get a sack. Horton's wide open, worked his way all the way across the field. Free safety didn't recognize it. McCollum chased too far. Ends up being a touchdown that gives Seattle a short-lived lead in the fourth quarter. Finally, the film from the Week 9 win against the Commanders. This is an incredibly talented rookie, and you saw more signs of it, at least two, in the win over the Commanders on the road. He's spot-shadowed at the bottom of the screen in yellow. Very physical attempt at defense by this downside corner. I'm not sure who that is. It might be Lattimore before he goes out for an injury. It's a jet follow play fake with the jet motion by Cody White to the top side of our screen, and then Walker following him in the same direction. Very Rams-esque, if you will, with the reverse pivot by Darnold. And the boot action is timed up perfectly, number one, with Tory Horton's route and his ability to win physically somewhere in this area by the two M's and Commanders, number one, but also the chip release by Barner. Everything is perfectly synced up right now with this offense. And in this case, this block kind of safeguards the space for Darnold to run onto. He doesn't stay on the defensive end, just chips him, holds him for a moment, and that gives Darnold the opportunity, or the space, I should say, time, to boot out to the edge and essentially have three options. Number one could be Horton, which is who he chooses. Two, Barner running for the pylon. Three, if the defensive end was to chase the run action by Kenneth Walker III, that Darnold could continue out into the flats. Darnold's got great reaction here, if you ask me, by understanding that he can't move towards the sideline. He can't go in that direction. He's got to get rid of the football here soon, and I love this throw. When I saw this occur live on the broadcast, at first I thought, where is this football going? It's kind of tight coverage, and we saw why, because there was a pass interference on the Commanders defender. I'll give you the same play from the end zone angle. Just a superb job by Horton, who was put off or offered up as a deep ball threat, a guy that's going to attack down the field because of his speed. And you have seen tremendous execution and the ability to win through contact here in this game against the Commanders in the red zone. Finally, his touchdown in the second quarter that puts Seattle up 14-0 leads to the forced fumble and fumble recovery on the kickoff that parlays it into a 21-0 lead 11 seconds later. This is, of course, after Ty Okada's ridiculous interception of Jaden Daniels. Horton is down here at the bottom side of the screen. Chris Collinsworth, not one of my favorite guys to listen to commentate or talk about football. Have to give him credit, though. He was absolutely right about this. This route was over at the time of this release for a couple of reasons. Number one, Horton won so quickly, so blatantly. Having said that, it's also because there's a safety stacked over the top of JSN to essentially double team him on this concept, and it gives Horton that whole portion of the field to run onto with this safety absolutely oriented and focused visually and with his demeanor on JSN. Huge opportunity for Horton to win. You'd have to think, depending on how long Cooper Kupp is going to be out, that you'll see more of these situations whereby teams are putting, you may think of it as the old Bill Belichick and New England Patriots philosophy, where they put perhaps their best corner on your number 2 guy, which if with Kupp out is clearly at this point Tory Horton, and then double team your best wide receiver in the case of JSN with their second best corner and or a safety. Same play from the end zone angle. Again, it's a 3rd and 8, puts Seattle up 14-0. This is where the bottom really fell out for the Commanders' defense. Unusual look, in my opinion. 4 guys lined up to the weak side, one of which you'd have to think would possibly be responsible for the running back. Who knows which guy it is, at least pre-snap. Off screen to our right, you have the safety stacked over top of JSN. I do think it's interesting that Darnold looked here to the left first. Leads me to believe that he knew or had an idea that the double team was going to occur over top of JSN. Number 1, huge win for Tory Horton, and you get an idea of it. Actually, normally the all-22 angle is better for providing some information about a wide receiver's win or a DB being in tight coverage. But in this case, as we let this progress, you'll get a better idea from the end zone angle of how much separation there was for Horton. In addition, you can see the exquisite pass pro that's being offered up by the offensive line and how much Horton wins this by against St. Ristel. There's a little bit of a shake here at the top of the route right there that further influences St. Ristel to go in that direction for a moment. Didn't really need to do that at that point. I don't think that Horton knew how open he actually was for a second touchdown of the night. Game was over, 11 seconds of competition game time later. Everything here between Horton and Darnold, perfect on the 2 touchdowns. And for him to be a 5th-round rookie, have 5 touchdowns already, 1 punt return that I showed you earlier in this video, really reflects well on the Seahawks front office. This draft, I think, has the potential to be borderline historic for that franchise. Through 8 games, to be honest with you, there's not too many rookies that are having the type of impact that Horton has. Emeka Egbuka for the Bucks, Tyler Warren, Tet McMillan. There's a wide receiver from the Chargers who was actually drafted 1 selection ahead of Horton. I think it's Gadsden, who's got 2 touchdowns and like 450 yards receiving. But Horton's an incredibly talented rookie to have been drafted in the 5th round. In college, he had high-level wins in one-on-one situations. And that's continued in the NFL. Just a great fit for the offense, for Kubiak, and for Sam Darnold. Credit to John Schneider and the front office. They knew what they were doing, that this guy had a lot of potential, and he's capitalized on the opportunities already, particularly the game against Washington where Cooper Kupp was out. 5 TDs on 13 catches. Not a great catch percentage so far, but taking advantage of the opportunities. It's really remarkable that Darnold has connected with this rookie so much through 8 games already. He's had a couple of weeks prior to the game against Washington, where he didn't get any targets nor any catches. But to me, he looks like the type of guy that can have an impact, can potentially score pretty much every time he touches the football. Did you expect this from Tory Horton? I know there are some who did. There were some who proclaimed him as one of the best wide receivers in the draft. In fact, 2 of the people that are in my Ravens Discord were banging the table to have the Ravens draft him at various points in time, even though we didn't necessarily need a wide receiver for this roster configuration. Credit to Seattle for taking him where they did after already selecting, guys that have had an impact already. Nick Emanwari early in the 2nd round, Gray Zabel, starting offensive lineman, playing extremely well. Arroyo had his first career touchdown in this game. The list goes on, really, if you ask me. Schneider and his group did a fantastic job in this draft, in my opinion. Tory Horton is just, the 5th ring on the hand so far in terms of the group that they brought in and contributing to the 6-2 start. I appreciate you guys' time, man. If you enjoyed the video, first of all, please let me know in the comment section. Second of all, if you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look at Tory Horton, generally focusing on just his big plays and touchdowns, then please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.